Hi, my name is Scott Kampschafer, and I'm a clinical social worker in Austin, Texas, and I wanted to talk with you today about the phenomenon of black and white thinking, or it's also called um, either or thinking or all or nothing thinking, but it's something that a lot of people suffer with, particularly people who deal with depression or have addictions and compulsions. And the thing about it is that it's often used to label or categorize things that people see in the outer world, but it can also come back to hurt the individual because they'll tend to think of themselves in those terms, like I'm either, an awful person or I'm a terrific person, and there's no in between. And I think particularly these days with the advent of computers and the internet, uh, the thing to understand is that computers work on binary code, 0 or 1. It's either on or it's off. And this can contribute to a lot of people thinking in extremes or dualistic categories. It's either good or bad. It's either right or wrong, and people fail to see the grades of the colors or the tones of gray that are in between those. That a lot of things, many things in life, don't lend themselves to black and white thinking. So one of the things that I try to get my clients to do is to look at themselves in the world and without considering the absolutes, or looking at things in shades of gray rather than all right or all wrong, because few things in this world are either all right or all wrong, all good or all bad, all this or all that. And one of the signs of mental health is that people can start to see things in a healthier manner and see that things are not typically a duality, but they typically exist along a continuum, that there's good and bad in all people, and that even in some of the worst situations there are signs of hope and glimmers of hope, and that we need to look at things in such extreme ways. And one of the things that tends to happen when people get addictions, like I said, is they tend to look at themselves in extremes, and especially if people are afflicted with an addiction and they feel bad about themselves and they start calling themselves, awful, terrible people, then that reinforces the addictive cycle, and people get thrown back into addictions because they feel so badly about themselves, and their behavior reinforces an idea of viewing themselves that they've already bought into with their last bender that they were on, and feeling like crap because of that, or how they cheated on their wife, or let their friends down, or something like that. So it's really important to be able to interrupt the cycle of black and white thinking by, you can do simple things like just shouting at yourself, stop, don't go there, or doing journaling, or learning to talk back to your negative thoughts, and especially being able to vocalize and vent some of your negative thoughts to friends and family allows other people to give you a different way of looking at yourself, so that you hopefully don't go around thinking you're an awful person, or that those people are terrible because of this or that, but that we need not judge ourselves and others simply because of the way we are prone to thinking, because we typically don't have access to all of the facts about a given situation, especially ourselves. Even though we may want to say we know ourselves better than anybody else, if we're berating ourselves and condemning ourselves, we're not showing mercy to ourselves, and we're the very people that we need to be treating with mercy so that we can treat others in the same way. So if you're somebody who struggles with black and white thinking, and particularly deals with addictions or depression and wants to work on that, and knows you have a problem with that, I encourage you to call me or some other mental health professional, or at least to talk to somebody you trust, to start getting some input on where your thinking might be distorted. Because one of the hallmarks of both depression and people who have addictions or addictive substance use disorders or other behavioral addictions is that people's thinking tends to get pretty distorted, especially when they're in the throes of an addiction, or they're at the, strongly under the influence of depression or some other mood disorder. And it's not just limited to those two, it's all kinds of mental illness. It's typified by black and white thinking. But you owe it to yourself to start opening up and start talking about all the emotional factors that go with that for you, because I almost practically guarantee you that it's really the thinking is a reflection of people's fears and insecurities and their own upbringing that's influenced them to be that way. And when people start to look at their childhood upbringing and how they were raised, they can often get a good insight into how they developed that kind of thinking pattern. But whatever you do, I really appreciate you spending some time watching this, bettering your mental health, and I wish you the best of mental health and the best of health overall, and a happy and prosperous future. Thank you.